What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta. Today you are here with D-Boy and we are back with another video to talk about a deck profile, which is the Bruce deck. So we've already got most of the cards revealed from the booster box for the Dark State and for the Final Rush, and with that we could actually pretty much make a complete deck and a very strong deck. And today I will actually show you the deck that I tried out, and I find this deck very good. It's really balanced for me, and it has a kind of a unique playstyle into it with the crazy amount of soul charging at the start of the game, and then later on in the game you don't have to keep soul charging that much. And the key for that is actually the uses of two cards together, and I will show you that at the end of the video, the combos that you could do. A little bit of that, not too much, because I don't want to make this video too long. I will make another video to show you the combos if you guys are interested. So if you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And without further ado, let's just do with the video. So for the grade 3 lineup, of course, we play the 4 copies of Bruce. This is your main grade 3, and this is also the cards that will be sitting in your right deck. Bruce is the only Vanguard that you need to go into, and that's the way that they made Vanguard Overstress, is having one main Vanguard in the deck. And Bruce right here is actually really impressive, as in he gives you the multi-attacking, and he's the only card who also enables Final Rush. We have seen this card in action in the anime, and I'm now more of a bigger fan of this card because such a amazing artwork and just the unique style into it, but also having that Spike Brother like character into it, which makes it for me just amazing. To add to this grade 3, we have the new Pale Moon grade 3, which we have a nice combination of Pale Moon, Spike Brothers, and Gear Chronicle in this grade 3 lineup. And the Pale Moon card, which is the Marjorie, she is really good. She is basically a beat stick, but also draw power and a soul charge at the same time, which makes this card insanely good. We'll go back and talk about the skills later if you guys don't know what they do, but for now I'll just go fast through it. And we play 2 Colossus because this is the Gear Juggernaut, and this guy is just a huge powerhouse. It's really good to have this on your Bruce turn, to have both of them actually in the front row with your Bruce turn, and they pretty much give you those huge attacks that your opponent will have lots of trouble with trying to guard. For the grade 2 lineup, we start with 2 copies, or actually 3 copies of Richard. I didn't really find lots of other grade 2s to put in the deck for now, so Richard is chilling at 3. He's a really good interceptor and a good beat stick, and I like having this in the front row way more than having a Steve. And the reason for Richard to be good is, of course, it's a good interceptor, but also it's just a grade 2 that is very flexible. You could put it early game and you could just have it there chilling. You could attack with it with your Final Rush. It becomes a 15k, which is good because with the 8k behind it, he hits, of course, magic numbers. So it makes it a very good attacker. And of course, it's also the card that we build chilling in your right deck. So that's also very important. To add to Richard, we of course play 3 copies of the Power Shield, the Shield House. Pretty much your Interceptor or just your shield value. This card could get the extra 5k shield for a counterblast. It's not that much, but it's still, sometimes it saves you lots of shield value. I've talked about this in the past, that if you don't use this as a 10k, you would normally just put a 15k out there, and with that you'd be just losing or wasting 10k. Well, with this counterblast you could pretty much get the 5k, and that could be enough in some situations. There are some other cards that also cost counterblast, so you have to be very smart about which cards you want to use for that counterblast. But for now, I'm playing this at 3. I'm playing also Richard at 3 because I don't really have lots of other grade 2s that I want to add to the deck yet. For the last grade 2, which is the only grade 2 that's interesting to put in at 4, and it's a triple R of the new set. So this is Aiden, and Aiden Boy is amazing, as in the art, as in the skill, as in everything he has. And that's the reason why we play him at 4. It's just a better Richard in lots of situations. Just you don't want to write into it, of course, but Richard will always be the card that is in your right deck, but it's just a better Richard. That's the most important thing. We'll come back and talk about the skills later, but let's continue on the grade 2 lineup. Just finished, now we get into grade 1 lineup. I play only one Steve because it's the card that will be chilling in your right deck, and then I add in 2 of the new Gear Boy. This card is just a rare, but rares are like double rares because they change the rarities up, and this is the card that you want to have on the field when you want to superior or actually persona right the next turn and you don't have a Bruce on hand. This pretty much could get you that Bruce back. Problem with this card is it's just another card that costs you Counterblast, which means you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 card that cost you Counterblast, and you have to be very smart about which one you use. Actually, all 4 are not necessary. This is just not necessary. The same goes for him. You don't really have to use it. It's just an extra if you really have problematic cards that you want to get rid of. I mean, the Counterblast one for the retirement. His ability to get the extra 15k is of course only good on the turn that you want to hit hard, and his skill is just because you sometimes want to get that Bruce back. So again, you have to be very smart about which one you use and when, and for that reason I don't want to play more copies of the Dragon Raids here than I should because of the Counterblast. And then we play the 3 copies of the Presenter. Acrobat Presenter is really good. It's the card that gives you the most soul, as in it's just a soul charge 1 each time you have a Bruce as Vanguard, so from grade 3 onward. And then also it's a soul charge 1 more if you are in Final Rush. If you put this card in the front row, it is actually a soul charge 4 in 1 turn. So this is the card that you want to use to get the most soul charged out of it. With the grade 3, of course, the Pale Moon one, who could also gives you lots of soul charge. And then we play the 4 Perfect Guard, of course the Dragon, not the other one, as in this art is better, and of course this is the one with the skill, while the other one don't have it. And then we also play the Order card at 3. I started playing it at 1, then I put it up at 2, and now I'm playing even 3. The thing is, this card is definitely not flexible, but it's a shield value that this deck needs, and I find myself using it more often than I thought, and just being smart about when to use it and when not. And now with the grade 3 Pale Moon one, we pretty much have enough soul to use this. And it's actually very stupid that this card needs soul 5 to get off, while it has more of a Spike Wither artwork or a Final Rush artwork or Diablos or whatever you want to call it as this deck. While this is easier to use in the other deck, which is the DI deck. Reasons is that deck pretty much keeps the soul, while this deck, after you go for your Final Rush turn, sometimes you don't have enough soul left, and this card will be very good in that turn. So this could be very situational, as in the early game it doesn't do much. In the late game it also may not do much, but in the mid game it's just good. So drawing it into the right moment could make it different, but sometimes it just don't. And it's just, again, work in progress, because we will get more cards. So there may be a moment where, of course, I will take this out. And the same goes for the grade 2 shield value. Both of them are actually important because they add shield value to the deck, but both of them are very situational. You sometimes don't want to waste your Counterblast on him, and sometimes you don't have the soul for this. So that's the reason why you haven't seen the other grade 1 in the deck, which is the grade 1 that they announced I think today or yesterday, which is the one that is on place. You soul charge 1 and then it's an act ability. You got Soul Blast 3 to draw. The problem is the Soul Blast 3 is a very heavy cost, especially for Spike Bullets or for the Final Rush deck. Well, for the other deck it's acceptable. And the second thing is you don't want to soul too much with this deck, and also you don't want to draw too much because you will be decking out, as I have seen that and felt that in some games that I tested the deck. So that's why I don't want to play him yet, but maybe it's a double rare, so there is a reason why it's in there, but I don't know for sure if he was actually made for this deck or it's just more for the DI deck. For the starter, of course, we actually just have the one. You could play the other one if you want to, but this of course fits the art very well. So for your right deck would be looking pretty much like this. You will have, of course, your only one Steve as your grade 1, a grade 0, and of course we will add Richard as the grade 2, and of course we never forget the Bruce as in the grade 3. This is your right deck, and what they do, pretty much we have the starter, which is if you go second you get to draw 1. We have the Steve, which is when you ride it, when you ride it, you could pretty much get your starter out of the deck and soul charge 1, which is pretty much very good because you already have a booster on the field. But better, when you ride into Richard, you now could put the starter into the soul and draw a card. So pretty much you'll be sitting at 3 soul because you add 1 more of his ability. So when you ride into the Bruce, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 soul already, so you only need 1 more, which means if you could soul charge 1 in the early game, or in this turn, your order card is already active. But the good thing about the order card is it doesn't cost soul, it only needs 5 soul, so that's the good thing about it. While with the grade 1 that needs the soul blast 3 to draw a card, I don't think that that's necessary because you'll be decking out faster because you need more soul charging to get his ability off. So to talk about the grade 3s, then we start with Bruce, of course, which has the 2 abilities. The first one, at the start of your turn, you enable Final Rush, which is the ability that gives you lots of big strength when it comes to this deck, and then some of your units will become better with their abilities. Bruce also has the second ability, is when he attacks and you are in Final Rush. So this ability will never activate when you get into him as the first time you're in Bruce, because his first ability needs to activate at the start of your turn. So the next turn you will be in Final Rush. Even before you ride, you will be in Final Rush. So even if you ride into something different, you will still be in Final Rush, which is very interesting because maybe in the future we'll get another different Bruce time card, and with that, this Bruce could still enable Final Rush before you ride into something different. But also what's important is if you Persona ride, you will still be in Final Rush. And why do you want to Persona ride? Because of his ability. When he attacks, you Soul Blast 5, and then you restand your 2 front rows. So that's what happens with Bruce. Is the important thing is that you could just ride on top of it, give your front row the extra 10k, draw a card of course, and have some beat sticks on the field to attack with them first, then attack with Bruce and then Soul Blast and restand them. And of course, because they keep the power from the Persona ride, they will hit hard. So it's not just 10k that your opponent have to guard extra, or maybe 30. It's now 10, but again 10. So that's lots more power, 20 more, which means that your opponent would just have to lose more shield value to guard it. So that's why Bruce is just the main Vanguard of the deck. It just gives you the Final Rush and gives you the multi-attacking option. When it comes to the other grade 3s that we have in the deck, these are pretty much your powerhouses, but also some soul chargers, as he is a powerhouse and a soul charge, and she is a powerhouse, a soul charge, and a draw, which she has the ability that when this unit attacks, if you are in Final Rush, so it only works on the Final Rush turn, put one of your other regards into your soul, draw a card, and you soul charge 1. And then this unit get the extra 10k. So you want pretty much to activate her ability on the first time you attack. So what you want to do right here is you want to have this on one side, something else on the other side, and a booster right here. And pretty much you want to attack with this side with the booster, then attack with her, and then put this booster into your soul. and then you get the power, you get the soul, and you get the draw. And then when you attack with Bruce, you'll be restanding these two, and she will keep the power because the power is till the end of turn. So you have to waste your boost on the first attack right here, which is why cards like Richard are still very good, because you make the right number if you boost it with the 8k. So she is actually one of the cards that made the deck way better, and I also just like the fact that she's from Pale Moon, of course. Their Colossus, we've talked about him before, we'll talk about him again. It's just a huge powerhouse, on play, soul charge, and then if you're in Final Rush, you could counterblast one to give him no power. But even before the Final Rush, he's just good because he's extra soul charge, and even without getting the power, he still hits the right 13 numbers, which is good to just put more pressure on your opponent, and maybe let your opponent attack into it and waste their attacks. I mean, that works. For the grade 2s, of course, you know his ability already, just to counterblast one to get the 5k shield. I don't know how long this card will be in the deck, but for now, I mean, it's the grade 2 that we could use. We talked about Richard being on the Vanguard, which is just putting one of your regards into your soul and draw, which is good, just the extra soul charge, but also the draw in the early game. And the second ability is if you're in Final Rush, he gets the extra 5k. So it's a 15k leader, but also, again, with the 8k behind him, he becomes the right number, which is 18, 23, which hits even above E trigger, if not E over trigger. And last but not least, for the grade 2s, of course, we have Aiden. This is the big boy triple R right here, which is Diablo Boy's Aiden. Aiden has the two impressive abilities, actually. The first one is just almost the same as Richard's, which is if you are in Final Rush, he gets the extra 5k. But then, when he restands, he gets a crit, which is really interesting, because if your opponent forget about this and try to take or guard the first attacks and take the later attacks, he could be very, very, very strong. Another thing about him that makes him very good is when you get a over trigger. Normally your over trigger for this deck is, of course, this bad boy, and this card gives the crit always to the Vanguard because it makes your Vanguard crit too. But if you have Aiden on the side, you could always give the power to Aiden, and because this guy gets the crit on the restand turn, he will be so strong with a crit, which means you don't have to drive check a crit to hit for the 2 damage if you have him in combination with the overtrigger. One of the things that makes Aiden very good, and one of the things that you will only know after testing. The second ability of Aiden is, of course, when this unit attack hits, you counterblast one, you choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and you retire it. The second ability doesn't really need Final Rush, so it works in the early game if you just want to get rid of something. Of course, they could always guard, but it's just good to have that hit pressure, and it costs a counterblast. So the second ability you will not use that much, but it's just the first ability that makes him very good. And having the second ability is also good because it's just another hit pressure. For the grade 1, of course, let's start with the order card. If you have 5 cards in your soul, you just get the extra 15 shield. I mean, it's really good because the thing about this is you just discard it and your Vanguard gets power, which is amazing because it doesn't be put on the Guardian Circle. It doesn't count as guarding, it's just different. So that's why the order card is just really, really good. The only thing you need to think about is, of course, having that soul. Then we go back to, of course, Steve. As Steve, the same as Richard, if you have him as a rear guard, he just get the extra 5k. And if you don't have a booster behind him, they act the same because the 13 or 15 are still good. But I don't play this in the main deck. This is the only card that I have in here, and this is just the card in the right deck. So the second ability of him will never actually activate because he will never be chilling on the Guardian Circle. Then we have the Perfect Guards, of course. It's just really good. It's something that every clan will get, or every nation. And I'm really happy that they made them dragons because otherwise it would be crazy. But the thing about this card is it's just good because if you have only these 2 cards in your hand and the order card, you already have lots of shield value, as you could stop 3 big attacks because this is a 15k shield. And then when you guard with this, you will have only 1 card in your hand, which means you don't have to discard So you just guard and then you just guard again. So this is really good, and it actually reward good players that thought about how to use their cards to the best potential. Then we have the Soul Charger. We talked about this. We talked about his ability. Just when you have Bruce's Soul Charge 1, and if you're on Final Rush, it's Soul Charge 2, but it could also be Soul Charge 4. If you have this in the front row, you attack with it, you Soul Charge 2, and then you restand with Bruce, you attack again, and it's another Soul Charge 2. It's a very good reset turn for next turn if you don't have enough soul, and if you just do have the ability to Persona, right? And he's also a very good combination with this card, because if you don't know what he does, basically when this unit attacks or boosts, so that's the good thing about him, his attack or boost, the same goes with him. If you are in Final Rush, you count +1 and you choose another of your Regars and you put it into your soul. Choose one of the cards from your soul and you put it into your hand. Which means that these two makes a very good combination, because you could pretty much attack with him, use his ability, restand him, attack with him again, use his ability, and the same goes for him. You could boost with him, but you could also attack with him, and the second time you boost or attack with him, you could use the ability to put something like this into your soul that you don't want next turn because you'll be soul charging too much, and then you could just get that Bruce from your soul back to your hand, especially after you already have superior Persona, right? The other thing about this card is sometimes when you use it once, it's more than enough, and you basically then put it into your soul with the grade 3. So before we end the video, we will talk about the triggers. So for the trigger lineup, I play 4 heals and I also play 4 draws. The thing is, of course, you play 4 heals. I don't have the 20k shield anymore as in the V series, but the 15k is enough. And heals are always heals and they could save you. The draw, on the other hand, I like that a lot because it's just a good card to discard if you want to ride with your ride deck, but at the same time I like draws. I'm always a big fan of draws, and I like the art as well. It looks very Dudley like. So 4 draw, 4 heal, and then we play the 3 crits, 4 front, and of course we have the overtrigger. Overtrigger also act as a kind of a crit. Why do I play more fronts than crits? Is because fronts are also very good defensively, while the crit is very good on the offense. The overtrigger right here, of course you could always play the overtrigger from the trial deck, which is the elemental one, which is extra or additional effect or ability. It's just that it gives one other unity power. It's also an interesting effect, but I don't think that it's necessary because we have a better one, which is this card. And this card has the additional effect is when you drive check it, the effect activates, and that is that during your turn, all of your Vanguards get the extra 10k and a crit, which means that your Vanguard will always have a 10k and a crit. And the thing about this card is that it is one of the few overtriggers that when you get early, it doesn't matter, because as you get this early or you get this late in the game, it's always good because it always will get the crit to the Vanguard. And that's why I think it's very impressive, as when you get it early, your Vanguard will keep that crit and the 10k during your turn, which means that your opponent will have to guard your Vanguard. And the crits by itself is good, but the extra 10k also makes it awkward for your opponent to just take the Bruce attack and they just have to guard it. And with Aiden, when you restand it, of course it also gets the crit, which means that they have to guard your Vanguard attack and they have to guard the Aiden attack if they are on 4 damage. Of course, if they are on 3 damage, then you're doing something wrong with this deck. But yeah, I mean, that's the way the deck works. Again, if you guys are interested in some combos, I could definitely make some for you guys. If you have some questions, if you say, yo, D-Boy, why don't you use this or that card, just let me know in the comment section below and we could definitely talk about it. That's it actually for this video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting our channel. Thank you for tuning in on our channel. And we definitely like to see you in the next video. So till next time.